Welcome everybody out to the Late Night Facecheck. My name is Valcomer, and today, as a special guest, we have TheSound. He is one of the premier casters in NGS. He also happens to be a Div B East player, so maybe I'll see him in the finals. But Sound, thanks for being here today.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Valk. It's great to be on the show
So in
and potentially see each other in the finals. That would be fun.
That would be fun. The statistical odds of it are rather low just because I'm one of like 11 teams. I think you're one of like 13 teams. So hopefully we pull it off.
Yeah, Div B is pretty large this time round. Kind of flipping with Div C of last season in that way.
Well, I jokingly, so for those who may not know, I'm the analyst in B West. I think I'm unofficially the lead analyst, mainly just because I've been around the longest at this point. But I jokingly refer to B West as BC West because we have so many of the C teams from West last season that came up, and then the B teams are still there, and boom, B West was recreated.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how everybody stacks up against one another because the divisions collapsing. Like we've had some people from A come down to B. We've had people from C bump up to B. We've had a bunch of people in B stay about the same. So I'm really curious to see how this season shapes up with how everyone stacks up against one another.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of exciting matches to come. I think that we owe a lot to broadcasters like you being there in the trenches, keeping it exciting for everyone to be able to check in. I know I'm going to be doing Nexus or NGS Rewind is what we call the program later on tonight after this interview. But thanks for all you do, Sound.
Oh yeah, I'm happy to. Casting, I actually, I think it's not just a fun thing to do, but I think it's also a fun thing for the community to get to watch. It's really part of what sets NGS apart from, I guess, your after work bowling league or something. Like the work that goes into making the tournament format, the analyst reports, the broadcasts that everybody does, it really creates this community atmosphere where we can all be involved and excited about what everyone's doing. And I'm thrilled to just be a part of that. And I'm looking forward to seeing what the Nexus Rewind brings this season. Um, yeah, and I would encourage anyone out there who's interested to try casting. I started 2 seasons ago now, and NGS has so many resources for people to get started. I had no experience at all with video production before starting broadcasting for NGS. So if I can do it, anyone can do it.
So you and I talked a little bit before we got to this point. I'm going to ask some of those questions, but tell me, normally we have people on camera. You have your visualizer that we've got set up as well. What brought you to the visualizer as a choice for kind of your on-screen persona?
Sure. I actually made it through 2020 and the rest of the quarantine without having a webcam for my PC. Um, and
I
when
didn't
I
think
was,
about that, but webcam sales probably went crazy.
oh yeah, they definitely did. Um, and I, when I decided to start broadcasting, I, had spent time looking at previous NGS broadcasters, and I'd watched some HGC stuff as well, of course, and I'd like tried to figure out what elements of each of those broadcasts kind of stuck out, looked interesting, added to the um, atmosphere of watching. And one of the things that I thought was really helpful was having some sort of connection, visual connection with the broadcasting talent. There are lots of casters who do great work and they're audio only. Um, but for those who do appear on camera, there's an extra connection there, and that connection adds something to the viewing experience. And I was like, well, I don't really want to buy a webcam because this is the only reason I would be doing it. So what else is out there? And my username is TheSound, and I was like, well, I could probably find some old school Winamp waveform
Winamp.
visualizer.
Wow.
Yeah. And
Oh,
I found it, and then I was like, oh, I have to get a logo now. So then I was like, well, what goes along with that really old looking waveform? Oh, it's just like the really basic speaker icon. And so here we are.
nice. Nice. Now, I told you I was going to repeat this a little bit, but tell me, how did you get into casting and tell everyone out there as well?
Sure, yeah. Um, like I said, I started like 2 seasons ago now. This is going to be my third season casting, I'm pretty sure. Um, and originally, I actually did not intend to become a broadcaster. Originally, when I joined my current NGS team, Protectors of Ire, we weren't saving like VODs with our comms in them for review, which is something that I had done on previous teams that I had been on. And I thought, well, I could probably figure out how to do that, but I know I need to download OBS to do that. So I downloaded OBS and then thought, well, I got to figure out how to use the software, which was pretty simple, but also was something that was really great about being an NGS member. When you sign up to be a caster, there is a whole YouTube playlist that Tootie made, I guess, a few years ago now, walking you through every single step that you might need to take
I
from zero to broadcaster.
I think that playlist originated even possibly before I joined NGS in season 5, but maybe I'm wrong.
And like we're talking walks you through downloading software, checking what server you're going to be going to. Like it is really thorough stuff. And because it's geared towards casting, after I learned the basics of how do you use OBS, I was like, oh, well, this broadcasting stuff seems interesting. It looks lots of fun. I've always really enjoyed everyone who does the broadcasting. So maybe I'll try it.
And
Sure,
and how
I'll give it
many
a shot.
casts do you think you had in your first season?
Um, in my first season, I think I went for 25 casts.
Wow. I think my record is like 8.
Well, I also, that wasn't all live. That was some amount of live casting and replay casting, which helped catch up to that number. When I started casting, I was like, oh, this could be like a fun thing to do. And then after I started and read through the caster bylaws and all that, um, there are the different tiers
Tiers.
of broadcasting. There's the caster hopeful, caster, and veteran caster. And one of the ways to become a veteran caster is to do 25 broadcasts in a season, which means I must have capped out at a higher number than. I guess if you count the broadcasts that I did on the main NGS channel, it's probably closer to 27. But I went from never broadcasting to doing my first live broadcast thinking, gee, this is lots of fun. I would love to keep doing this. And deciding to make it a goal to become a veteran broadcaster by the end of my first season too,
Very
which
good, my
sounds silly
friend.
to put it. Now that I'm saying it out loud, it feels a little silly, but yeah, it turned out great, and I got a lot of support from the community. I've had countless people reach out to me and thank me for a broadcast or comment on parts that they liked, which is one of the great things about NGS is like I think we have a really friendly, kind community by and large, and
I agree.
I am a huge fan of basically everyone I've interacted with, and it's so nice to have people reach out and say thanks, and yeah, it's just lots of fun to be another element that brings something to the league.
All right, so I've got this smirky, very difficult question for you. What do I say in your chat almost every time for the first message when I join one of your broadcasts?
I looked it up because I noticed that you said it every time.
I didn't
Um,
think you were gonna get it.
so I looked it up, and I know that it's a Cars reference, but I don't remember the quote exactly. But it's basically, I heard that the sound gives some of the best broadcasting out there. Maybe you could set me up with 2 or 3 games, something along those
Yep.
lines.
So it's a paraphrase of a Cars quote at the end of the first movie. A Michael Schumacher Ferrari comes into a Luigi's tire shop and says, "Lightning McQueen told me this is the best place in the world to buy tires. How about setting my friends up with 3 or 4 sets each?"
Hmm. Hmm.
And Luigi says to Guido, "There's a real Michael Schumacher Ferrari," and then falls over. And then Michael Schumacher switches to Italian, says it to Guido, at which point Guido falls over. And
Perfect,
so
perfect.
it's a twist on that because we can't always get 3 or 4 games, but we can almost always get 2 or 3.
Absolutely.
But yes,
Yeah,
Lightning
I
McQueen says this is the best place in the world to watch Heroes of the Storm.
yeah, I saw it the first time and I was like, huh, I don't recognize it, but that is so specific. That must be something. So I went and looked it up. Yeah, so it's fun that you asked.
Nice, nice. All right, so before we transition away from caster sound to team member sound, what would be the one bit that you would share with a hopeful broadcaster, caster hopeful, I guess is NGS's word for it, as a way to get started or overcome that initial nerve of it all?
Um, I would say the best advice or sage wisdom that I could offer is that I believe that broadcasts, no matter your personal perception of your quality, are always appreciated. Even if you don't think you did that good a job, because like every time after I sign off, I'm like, oh, I could have done this better. I noticed I messed up on this transition, whatever it is, like you have your list of things. The teams are not keeping that close to track. They're just very excited that their game is broadcast. And like, you shouldn't let your shyness or concern for some sort of negative self perception stop you from doing it because everyone's going to be really pleased that you did. Like, I have only received positive responses from my broadcasts from start to finish. And so if everybody is as nice as they are to me, to everyone else, which I have no reason to believe that they wouldn't be, it it's just a nice, fun thing to do, and it adds depth to the league. It allows you to pay attention to other divisions that you're not in. You get to like feel more invested in the storylines of the rest of the community. I think it's great.
Nice. All
Yeah,
right.
don't be scared to start because everyone's gonna love it. That's the big takeaway.
And to echo that, I would say even if all you do is one replay cast, we'd be glad to have you.
Absolutely. I did however many in that first season, and I've done way fewer since, and any number of broadcasts is great. There are way too many games that get played for all of them to get broadcast, given the current number of broadcasters there are. So there are always replays that can get broadcast, and if you just do one, then the two teams in that game will have something to go back and watch, and they'll love it. It's no matter how big or small your contribution, every contribution is awesome.
Absolutely. So, well, so we're on Protectors of Ire. Have you been with them for every season that you've played in NGS?
No, I started my NGS tenure back in season 13.
Okay.
I was on Bye for Catboys in seasons 13 and 14. Um, And then for season 15, there was some last minute. Yeah, I was on a team, but the roster, we lost some people, and then we didn't have enough to start the season. And it was after we had signed up, but before
Ooh.
placements had happened. So there was concern that I actually wasn't going to get to play for season 15, and then really last minute ended up joining up with Don't Die First Minute. Um,
Great team name.
and yeah, and I will tell you that we regularly died in the first, which was lots of fun for everyone who ever broadcast us, because it was like, it's delivered on a plate for you, like, and here we are in the first minute, and Don't Die First Minute have already racked up their first death.
Uh,
But that was great. Like it felt very much like a team of otherwise disparate people that had, some people had played together before here and there, but we just came together for that one season and got along really well. And we performed pretty well too, but it wasn't meant to be like a long-term thing. And then for season 16, that's when I joined up with Protectors of Ire, when we were Div C East.
so 16C East, 17 you were in what division?
B.
And now you're back in B again. Have you played a match this season? Because we drew the first round bye.
We also drew the first round bye.
So no wonder you've been casting so much this week, right?
Yeah.
For
We
anybody
do
who
have
may
our
not
first
know,
match on Sunday. So
Sound had the very first broadcast of the season.
I was really excited to get to do that.
Nice.
Yeah, that was
It,
lots of fun.
it's fun to have some of those weird, we'll say, feats of strength, to borrow a term from World of Warcraft, right? Uh,
Hmm.
world first, season
Yeah,
18. Um,
absolutely.
so and great stuff. And Sound, what is your Twitch to let everybody know that?
Sure, yeah. You can find me at twitch.tv/thesound51. Um, I'm live pretty much once a week, sometime, or I'm live with a live match once a week. I'm going to try and get some replay broadcasting done. Those tend to be like random times in the middle of the day, in the middle of the week. So I never really expect anyone to tune in for those. But
Mine
that's
are
when another.
sometimes insomnia bouts.
Exactly. But once the VOD exists, teams can go back and watch it, and then it lives on the NGS YouTube page, and
That's
it's
right.
it's a righteous, virtuous system that's good, and everyone should be involved.
Uh,
Yeah, so twitch.tv, the Sound 51, live at least once a week for a live broadcast, and then
and
sometimes multiple times a week for replay broadcasts.
do you POV your matches also or no?
I do not make those public.
Oh, got it. All
Yeah.
right. Well, no one will get to see the excitement of the off lane, not broadcast, not POV streaming.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, that's part of, I think, why it wouldn't be that interesting. Is just like, oh, yeah, Sound's killing minions again.
hey, every team needs a garbage man.
That's true.
So, um, so you haven't played your first match this season. It's coming up on Sunday. This episode will likely be released Saturday or Sunday, depending on how I get through the editing. So check that out. Who are you playing this week, Sound?
We have our first match on Sunday. It's a flex match against the Animaniacs.
The Animaniacs. Very nice. So you joined in 16. How did I assume you did well in C East in 16 because you bumped up to B East in 17?
Yes. We actually went on to be the grand champions
Ah,
of
very
all of Div
nice.
C for 16. So I've got one of the
So you got a grand
shiny
champion
pins.
lapel pin somewhere. And
Oh,
then
yeah.
B East season 17. How did that go as the team, and is the roster the same as this season?
The roster is the same, has been the same since I joined, in fact. thinking a little bit to make sure that that's true. Looking back in my mind's eye, yeah, that sounds right. I'm going to stick with it. 17, I was pleased with how we did. This is the first time the team has existed for a long time before I joined. And this is the first time the team has made it up to Div B, or 17 was. So, that alone felt like an accomplishment for us. And we were, realistic in setting a goal for, we would love to make it to playoffs. No matter how. As long as we can get into the postseason, that'll feel like
poison, bribery were still on the table.
Absolutely. Lie, cheat, steal. I think we ended up finishing 7th in the regular season, so we made the cutoff for playoffs and got eliminated in the first round. But, I was pretty pleased with our performance, especially because this is the first time, like I said, we'd made it that far. So it was a new experience for most of the members of the team. I had been in B two other seasons, I think, on one team or another. Is that true? No, I'd only been
I'd have to look up your history.
Yeah, no, it was A with A, B, A, C, B, B. Yep. That's all of them, right? Whatever. That sounds right.
And you're playing off lane for the team.
Yes.
One of these times I should probably interview another teammate, since you and I have spent so much time casting. But it's you, Scoops, Sturder, and
Orion
and Tracer.
Tracer, yes.
Got it. And Tracer, true to their name, uses a Tracer portrait. Has played a fair amount of Tracer, but I feel like I almost never see them on Tracer anymore.
Yeah, it's been it's been a journey. Following their hero pool is a journey. I think we can convince them to play Tracer again. I think it's still very good. It is not currently feeling like the interest is there. And this is a player that is very I don't want to say fickle. Fickle makes it sound like a bad thing, but gets in a kick on a certain hero and will play a lot oh, I think this hero's good here. Whether or not, no matter what the draft, no matter what the battleground, we might be picking, if we're in a Tracer phase, we might be picking Tracer this game because they're excited to play Tracer.
No, I think that happens to a lot of us. I know if you go to different seasons of me, you can see there's often a standout hero. I want to say season 6 or 7. I had more Arthas games than most of the league. And I know there was a Heroes Lounge season 3 where I just had a slew of Muradin games, right?
Nice. Yeah.
I think that's normal.
Absolutely.
Well, my friend, you were nice enough to provide me with a clip from your team, so I am going to click over to that and hope that it all works properly. Aha! All right, so this is from last season, Protectors of Ire versus Brickhouse. We're nicely centered on you, and I'm going to turn up the volume just in case, but I might regret that in a moment, but let's check it out.
The Sound was maybe overestimating their ability.
Yeah, so at this point, we just finished a DK phase, and I had been trading with Rexar pretty aggressively, thinking, oh, if I get them low, maybe team can collapse here. And so I traded really inefficiently, but got this Entomb, which allowed us to get the top fort. Of course, Brickhouse responded 100% appropriately and saw that we were top, collapsed on our bottom fort. And that's where having the global is really nice, because we were able to leave Tracer up in top lane while the rest of us collapsed here, and clean up a little bit more.
Oh, and the isolation going out.
They're looking
Yeah,
for
Tracer's a
results
really
on
good
the
Dahaka
top
player.
side. The bile movement and the trait have been activated.
Oh, I was
Ecliptic
hovering over the
catches
pause
Zesty
button
on the
and
low
didn't mean
side
to
with a
be.
double stun.
Oh,
They do
Stitches
catch
is
up to
toast.
Stitches and get the takedown. Zesty with nowhere to go is just going to be blocked and removed.
If
Straza
Alex
goes
had the
down.
other ult, maybe.
Vectors of Ire
Maybe.
currently
Maybe. So yeah, that was a fun one. That was a great series too. You know, that was our third game in the series. We had a nail biter on Volskaya Foundry for game 2. It was a blast.
Nice. Nice. Well, my friend, you were probably going to set the record for the longest face check interview, but that's okay because we've had a lot of fun. I hope people are still watching at this point. But are you ready for the lightning round of questions?
Absolutely.
All right. So for anybody new, TheSound will have 1 minute to see just how many of my silly questions they can answer. The record, long held, is 14. This record goes back to like season 10, so that you know.
Okay.
So your timer will start. Oh, I got to get this back to 1 minute. I don't know why it's set back to an hour. Your timer will start as I finish reading the first question. Sound, are you ready?
Yes, I am.
All right. Who is the worst hero in the game?
Ragnaros.
Favorite hero?
Blaze.
Hero crush?
Kira.
Name one heroic you won in real life.
Bunker.
Worst hero to loan money to.
Junkrat.
Best hero aesthetically.
Zeratul.
Best non-HOTS Blizzard game.
Diablo 2.
Favorite map.
Towers of Doom.
Hero you'd go to dinner with.
Arthas.
Most impactful hero.
Diablo.
Which HOTS map would you like as a theme park?
Volskaya Foundry.
Who's your favorite caster besides yourself?
Peldor.
Favorite HOTS resource?
Oh,
Oh,
I guess Old Heroes Hearth.
Old Heroes Hearth. All right, we'll count it because you did start with a guttural noise there.
Yeah.
All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
Not bad.
So very close. And I realized that either I didn't say it very well, which is probably the case, or you just didn't hear it. But it was name one heroic you would like in real life.
Like heroic talent?
Yes.
Yeah, bunker drop. That's what I said.
Oh, bunker. I thought you said hogger. I was like, all right, I'm gonna move on.
Ah.
Keep the game going. Bunker drop. Got it.
Yeah. Just like, summon a structure.
Yep.
From nowhere.
Hey, it'd be handy. Someone's like, oh, I'm cold. Perfect. We're camping. Bunker drop.
Get in the pillbox. Boom.
All right. So you and Arthas hanging out at dinner. I imagine he's a cool guy to hang out with. I think I'm supposed to make a pun like that. But why Arthas going to dinner with him?
I think lore-wise, and this is coming from someone who has very little lore knowledge of the Warcraft universe, but what little I do know, Arthas seems like a really interesting, like the whole journey from being a paladin of the light to becoming the Lich King, and there's a lot of life in those years, I'd love to pick his brain about that.
Yeah, well, lore-wise, he cuts out his own heart, so he might not share a whole lot about it, but...
That's true.
Well, Sound, thank you so much for being here. The floor is yours for any shout-outs that you would like here at the end of the broadcast.
Great. Well, big shout out to you and all that you do, the Late Night Facecheck, NGS Rewind, the analyst reports, and running all of the Can't Counterpick Stupid community events, Nexomania tournaments, Road to Nexomania tournaments, open houses. There have been coaching sessions. So first and foremost, big shout out to you for everything that you do for the NA HOTS scene, and also to the rest of the NGS volunteer staff. They do a great job. We wouldn't have a league to participate in without their hard work. So
I do
huge thank you
believe
to
the
all of them.
volunteers do a good job. Thank you, volunteers. But back to Sound's shout outs.
And shout out to my Bye for Cat Boys homies. They were my first team, and if I hadn't had such a good experience with them, probably wouldn't have stuck with it.
Sure.
And of course, shout out to the current team, Protectors of Ire. We're going to do great this season. I believe it.
It's going to be a great season in Div B.
Absolutely.
Even if the West is better.
All right.
Nope, I don't get to watch the East as much, but there's some absolute talent over there, and I expect great things from Protectors of Ire.
Thank you. Yeah, that's one of the reasons why I love the replay broadcasting, because typically it's pretty tough for me to catch a West game live, but I still love getting to see how everybody's performing across both coasts in our league.
Yeah, as silly as this sounds, if I could figure out a way to provide for my family and just be totally involved in HOTS and, writing stuff for the leagues and broadcasting and all of that, I'd be all for it. I just haven't figured out that way to go, and I'm probably a few years too late.
Yeah, I've had a similar thought process. Like, this is great fun, but that's all it is. It's not going past that, which is fine. It's a joy to do.
Yeah. Well, TheSound, thank you so much for being here. For everybody out there, if you'd like to learn more about Nexus Gaming Series, you can visit nexusgamingseries.org. Get an invite to the Discord. There's about 2,000 folks in the NGS Discord, loads of teams playing each season. Season 18 has just started. This is the first week. If you somehow organically found this on your feed and made it this far, thank you for being here. Find out more. We'd love to have you join the league as well. My name is Valcomer. This is the Late Night Facecheck. Mind the bushes out there and have fun. And with my traditional shout out, hi, Mom.